Well, I was just calculating that we had 500 years of wisdom around this table today. That's pretty nice.
Wait, that may make the makeup artist not happy. I thought we got rid of those.
Wisdom. And a wise person once said to me, "You know how you judge enlightenment?" I said, "No, how does that work?" He said, "It's by how much the person can soften their heart." I said, "You mean like in the Bible there was this guy Pharaoh and his heart hardened every time that there was an issue with the people leaving and his heart hardened?" And he said, "Yeah, it's kind of like that, a soft heart." What I've heard today is the fact that each one of us in our own way have softened our heart for the needs of the people. Bob in Africa is perhaps representative of that. Michael around the globe, you all are global travelers. But your hearts have softened also for the voiceless among us. And to me, that's what I take away from here and what I hope for the world. Michael said the pain points, there are pain points in the world. That to me is a softening of the heart. And I think if we can help people get that change of heart and include more in, all aspects of creation become meaningful and important.
Can I ask you then, and can I ask the panel, how do we do that? Because I see this country saying you don't have to sacrifice to make the world a better place, and that people have now expected that it's supposed to be easy and comfortable. And is that the way to get people to change, to save the world and ourselves? Or is it to show them horrible pictures and give them horrible facts and scare them? Or is it to, how do we do it? Because we do have an urgent time crunch here. And we have to start doing it.
Well, there are two, I just take a 15-second stab at that. There are two, to me, powerful motivations, the only two really, and one is love and the other is fear. Those are the motivations. You could see both of those working. A love meaning an expanded ethic, a fear meaning that some of the things we've talked about around this table. I think personally the reason we haven't seen more action on behalf of the environment is we're not afraid enough yet. At least the kind of people who live in Southern California aren't afraid enough yet. When they get afraid, there'll be change. Will it be too late? Will there already be a lot of stuff coming down? Probably so. But
it's the effectiveness of the people who are out to a degree canceling the fear. In other words, saying everything's great, we're in the perfect system now, we're the city on the hill, and so on. In other words, it's basically systematic lying to the people.
See, I think it's because we're too afraid, not of environmental consequences, but we're too afraid of the consequences of what it will take to change the picture and improve the situation. And we've been made afraid.
The consequences of the effort.
We've been made afraid by those who don't want to see change. They've told us that our lives will be miserable. We'll drink warm beer in a dark room if we solve global warming. And it's just not true.
It's not true. So let's discuss that, because I believe that we will have to make change, and change for me at least is hard, so it feels like a sacrifice. Even if it's for the good, there's this adjustment period which is always very, very uncomfortable for me. So even if it is living a simpler life is better, and I believe you when you say that, it's still scary to me even though I know it's good. So what kind of changes, what is the world going to look like when we do
First
make
of all,
these changes?
most people are either going to work from their homes or walk to work. The biggest, why have I stayed at Stanford? I've been on the faculty there for 52 years. The primary reason is I can walk to work every day.
Yeah, same here.
I stay the hell out of a car as much as I possibly can.
I walk to work each
healthy.
day. I have solar panels on my roof. I drive a very efficient car. I hardly ever use it, except when I drive out to Colorado to do field research in the summer. And my life is quite happy.
But we've all decided that your life, if 7 billion people lived the way you did, still our planet wouldn't be able to sustain.
If they all walk to work, it'd be a lot better off.
Depends what the work is. Depends what the work is.
We have to
agree.
reposition it.
It will take more than that, because this relatively small amount of energy compared to my neighbors that I do use is still coming from unsustainable sources.
And it's gigantic compared to most people.
And
so
that has to fix. So what has to fix is that we have to expedite bringing in of wind power, solar power, and efficiency. Those three things alone
But-
are big enough to get us off of fossil fuels.
But you can't avoid
onto-
collective action.
And it will take
gonna be
collective action. It will
politics.
take smart politicians.
That's right.
You cannot do it solar, rooftop by rooftop. It has to be done from the top down as well as the bottom up.
And are the politicians so bought by the
Yes.
campaign
Totally.
donations, and that's why we're not moving in the direction that would benefit all of us?
We're being blocked. And money in politics is a big part of the problem, which several people have mentioned.
Which means more people from the grassroots have to be brave enough to run for office.
I mean, remember there was complaints about Obama being a redistributionist. Actually, the people complaining were the redistributionists. They had been taking money from the poor and giving it to the rich, hand over fist, for a very long time. That happens internationally as well.
And we've never talked about the amount of money that is exported from the South to support the Northern habits.
This is why
That's
I
a
said
big,
in answer
big
to
money.
the one thing you tell people to do. And I said, educate yourself and then vote for politicians at least as smart as you are, who understand these issues. As long as we have uneducated people voting for even stupider politicians, we're going to end up not solving the problem.
There's a part of me that wants to say you're haggling over details when you talk about politics, because for me, the breakthrough in 1992 at the Rio Summit was not the governments, it was the non-governmental organizations. And since then, the breakthrough has been the NGIs, the non-governmental individuals. I think at the grassroots level, there is a tremendous resurgence of what you could call quasi-political breakthrough.
With all those breakthroughs, how come we haven't broken through?
Well,
we
we have.
started
We've
to
made
break
a lot
through.
of breakthroughs.
Without
problem
the
is we have the time
grassroots, we
issue.
wouldn't have broken through
That's
at
right.
all.
That's
The
right.
grassroots is what is going to change everything. If we're
Absolutely.
too complacent for a revolution, at least we have people talking about it, doing things in their own lives, setting a model for other people to follow, and frankly, agitating. I think that's back to where we say we've got to go to the corporations and say, I will buy this, I won't buy that, and here's why. And we have to go to the politicians and say, I will vote for you, I won't, because of this. And stand up at their town meetings.
I
It's the
wish I could be
empowerment
as
of the
cheerful as you are. I
individual.
hope you're right.
This
but if you were,
isn't
see, I
cheerful, Paul.
lived through the Depression. And when people started to stand up for their rights before that, particularly, but even during the Depression, the corporations just took their personally owned police and had them killed.
No,
In
no,
other
no, but
words,
that-
you'd be amazed the kind of pushback
I
that we're
really
seeing,
wouldn't.
and,
I
yeah.
really wouldn't. And I mean, having studied the partition in India and Pakistan and so on, and looked at so many of these things, and looked at the civil rights movement, and before the civil rights movement, back in the times of Sojourner Truth and so on, I know what people can do. I mean,
I know what they can do, too. The question is, can they do it in a decade
right
or two?
now,
That's right.
here's
Or
what-
less.
I
Here's what I
gra-
think we're
grassroots-
worrying, though,
I think
is that we
grassroots
can't say
action
no.
Grassroots action is clearly necessary, but I just don't think it's sufficient.
But
It's
nothing
not
think there
fast
has to
enough
be-
either.
Nothing is sufficient, and all
Well,
we
some-
have is the
no
power
one
of
thing
the
is
people.
sufficient.
Exactly.
But several things are necessary, and one of them is grassroots, but one of them is going to have to be from the top down, and that only comes
agree.
about.
But that only comes from
grassroots
the bottom
pushing
up.
the top
Grassroots
up to right
pushing-
down. In other words, we've got to
Yeah,
get
it's got to come
we've
from
got to
the
get the
bottom and the top.
politicians in there that understand what the grassroots want, and then we'll go for it. As long as they think the grassroots want whatever they've paid the advertising industry to tell us. The
Look,
grassroots
Oh, no, no,
want.
but
no,
it's
but I'll
reason-
say this, that as dismal, as depressing, as horrid as this discussion is of thinking, do we have enough time to do everything? I believe that most people who are watching this show probably only have the power of themselves. And that would be where I would say from the grassroots, if you're watching the show, you may not run for office, you may not be able to influence office, but you can do things in your life and you can organize. And you can also use humor, the way it was used
Organize
against
is the
Hitler.
critical word
You
there.
know, by Charlie Chaplin against Hitler, is that we need to make fun of the climate deniers and of all these sorts of theories that say that we have lots of time when we don't have any time.
I'd personally like to thank everybody who's watching the show.
Well,
You're assuming there's anyone watching. That's a big
Personally, I'd like to
assumption.
thank, I'd like to thank him and or her.
Your son is watching this show.
All right, we've heard from each other today. I think it's some new economies, solar and non-materialistic economies. I think that would be an appropriate solution, big picture solution. We have heard about kindness and ethics as undergirding and perhaps informing us at a deeper level. The fact that my grandmother put her arms around me one time when I was about 17, and she said, "Peter, be kind, for everyone you meet is fighting a hard battle." Well, now she would have said for everyone, the two-leggeds and the four-leggeds, she would have included the animal kingdom. They're fighting a hard battle as well. As we close, I want to close with something that Adlai Stevenson said about who he thought was a patriot. And he said, a patriot is not one who jumps around on short bursts of emotion, but lives the dedication of a lifetime. John, Rod, Ingrid, Paul, Michael, Bob, you have lived a lifetime of dedication to the cause, and you're not going to give up now. And we appreciate that. To Alexandra, my co-host, who walks the talk, who lives simply, she may say she doesn't live at the level that she would like to espouse to, but she lives at a level that I admire and respect, and all of our viewers do as well. This has been a wonderful opportunity to hear from people that have a deep and committed compassion for all the creatures on the planet. And I thank you all. It's been very enlightening, empowering, and yes, it has been difficult to hear much of the message, but we also see hope as around this table in the lives that they have lived, and we too, each one of us, can adopt a little bit of what we have heard today to make a difference.
Thank you very much, all of you, for being here. And,
Thank you.
It's great.
thank you, Peter.
Solves all the problems in the world.